If you're the one to declare war and they come after you, I mean, technically you declared it. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean?
You are listening to And If Love Remains, a unique show spotlighting people, ideas, science, culture, and art. Your host, Mike Lovett.
Yes, Rachel, I am Mike Levitt, your often virtuous, occasionally vile, but always virile host. And I'm super happy to have back on the show of And If Love Remains, Mr. Brandon Joe Williams. Good to have you back, brother.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. I've been going through your courses. It's been really epic. We're going to be talking about some fun stuff, but before that, where can people find you? Let's get that off the ground first. What's the best place you want people to go to find information about you and your work?
onestupidfuck.com.
There's the place. There it is. And one of the things I love about what you do and kind of your take on things is you're really giving people options that I think people haven't even considered before. And I think that, whether you use those options, whether you do take the jump full or partly into state nationalism, or, whatever you decide to do, like, I think it's important that people actually understand these options and know that they're real and know that, there isn't a boogeyman out there trying to get you. And that I think that's an important thing for people to get.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just, what is written is essentially the Bible. So, as long as you follow what is written, then you'll be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I wanted to ask you, one of the things I want to discuss is you recently had a debate, and, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I thought it was interesting. I really enjoyed listening to it. But I mean, maybe you can correct me, but as I listened to it, it felt to me like, the things you were debating, basically the entire debate turned into, hey, Brandon, yeah, everything that you're saying is probably true and probably right and probably just and probably the right way to go, but you're going to end up in jail anyway. That seemed to be like how things were going. Now, did I misinterpret that, or kind of what was your take on that debate?
I guess you're talking about the one with Mike, right?
Yeah, with Mike. Yeah, sorry.
There's two of them. There's the Jaeger one and there's the Mike one.
I think I missed the Jaeger one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, for many, many years, even before I had One Stupid Fuck, I always told people, if you ever want to debate me on anything, then I'm down. Let's do it live, And I had one guy a long time ago, Jonathan Horn. This is before I even had One Stupid Fuck. This is just on right versus left politics and that kind of thing. And he came on the show and we had a debate. It was actually really awesome. And then with One Stupid Fuck, I did the same thing. I always say the same thing. It's sort of like, if someone would like to debate me, then by all means, let's do it live. And I, for the first year and a half since I launched the website, March 14th, 2022, I never had anybody take me up on the offer. And it's actually funny because the Jaeger was the first guy I ever had on a debate. And what's funny is that he freaked out on me last year, like in July. And I offered to do a live debate with him and he said no. And I blocked him. And then he emailed me again recently and said, hey, if that debate is still on the table, I want to do it. And that's how the first debate went down.
Gotcha. Okay.
The second debate with Mike was just him talking shit on the comment section and me being like, hey, you either come on the show and you debate me live or I'm blocking your ass. And then he decided he wanted to come on the show. And then the Jaeger show, his camera was off and he didn't want to use his last name. And he got a lot of shit for that. I had a lot of people messaging me like Jaeger's a piece of shit, fucking little pussy ass hoe and all this. And so I thought in my head, I thought it's not even really fair for someone to come onto a debate in that kind of a condition. So I basically made a rule. That, you know, you have to have a camera and you have to use your actual name. That way people don't just freak out about the fact that you're like hiding or something. You know what I mean? And that's the Mike one that we did with Mike. And
he seemed like a cool dude. Like he seemed like a nice guy, but it was just like, again, from my perspective, it was I don't know the behind the scenes stuff or what he was posting and things like that, but it seemed to me like he was agreeing with the theory and with the ideas that you were proposing. He was just basically saying, you know, you're going to get you and everybody that listens to you in trouble, and you're going to go to jail, which is, yeah, I guess technically always the case. I mean, but yeah, I mean, that was kind of my take on that.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up blocking him because he was kind of nasty even after the show. I was like, God damn, this guy's kind of relentless. So I ended up blocking him off social media. But I have to admit, when you look in the comment section, people call him Eeyore. And I was in fucking tears. I was laughing so fucking hard. I was looking down the comment section and someone's like, wow, I didn't realize you were doing a debate with Eeyore today. And I was just, bro, I fucking lost it, man. I was literally laughing so hard. I was in fucking tears. Okay. Because he's basically just like kind of like an Eeyore. You know what I mean?
No. Well, it's funny that you say that because I did not make that connection, but once you said it, I mean, that's exactly right, man. Oh, I mean, he even talked kind of like that and kind of low, and hey, Brandon,
there just wasn't really it wasn't really a debate by the end. It was just kind of like, you know.
Yeah. He was just down in the whole thing. So, but let's address the fact that, like, there is truth to the fact that whoever has the guns has got the power, right? And ultimately, like, if somebody wants to put somebody in jail and they have more power over you, they can. Like, I don't think you can debate that. The question really is, you know, are you on solid footing logically in law and in you know, in what you're trying to accomplish, and then those things you can argue and you can win or not, but the question is, like, are you on solid footing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind is there's like one of the guys that I learned from at the beginning when I first started learning all this. His name's Christopher Hauser, and he's got videos on YouTube. And you know, one of the things that he did when he was arrested and he was in the can. Now he went in. He did something that I strongly do not recommend people do, which is start filing extremely hostile commercial liens on everybody. The county clerk, the bailiff, all the judges, all the police. I mean, it was him and like 9 other guys, and they were just like going fucking totally wild with the fucking. Okay. So it was a very extreme example and a very extreme situation that caused him and all of his friends to be incarcerated. Okay. I would never recommend that someone do what he did, and I have never done it, and I don't plan on doing it. It's just a very, very wild, aggressive, non-friendly. It's basically the declaration of war, essentially.
Right.
And if you're the one to declare war and they come after you, I mean, technically you declared it. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, but one thing that's very interesting about him is he was writing what's called habeas corpus for all the people that were in the prison, and he was training everybody in the prison. And he ended up clearing out a huge part of the prison, and then they kicked him out of the prison because he was clearing out the prison, right?
Right.
At first they tried to put him in a mental institution, and they tried to basically drug him and chemically castrate him, and that didn't work because he's too smart for that. And he tells this whole story on his YouTube about how he used to hide the pills in his cheek, and he would go to the drinking fountain and he would like chew apart the pill and like spit the stuff into the water fountain. And he had that thing down to science. He used to talk to the guards,
Yeah.
And he used to tell them how to do all sorts of crazy shit with their taxes and crazy shit with this and crazy shit with that. And then he started helping the guards with their own financial stuff. And then that's, and then one thing led to another. And then they had no choice. He was getting too many people out of the prison, and he was making too many friends with the guards. And so they kicked him out of the jail. Imagine that. Imagine getting kicked out of prison. Imagine that one.
Well,
so I think of it like this: if you're so good at this and you're so dangerous that the prison wants to kick you out of the prison, then I mean it's really not that scary to go to prison.
Right.
All you gotta do is just get out of prison. That's not that hard.
For some, I suppose that's true. I suppose that's true. So, and one of the things, again, I appreciate about what you teach and what you've been talking about is like, it's important to have peace, with your neighbors, including the government.
Yeah.
And that
he's the only guy I know of that went to prison, him and all of his friends. But it was like I said, full blown
they were at war.
Declaration of war. It wasn't just like pushing a couple people around. It wasn't just like pushing around some paper. It wasn't just like someone got irritated. It was like full blown, like militia is declaring war on the entire local judicial system of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like, that's how intense that situation had gotten. And then, I would imagine if you want to get together with 9 of your buddies and you want to full blown declare war on the entire local judicial system, none of my people are getting picked up, but those people will probably be the first people to get picked up. But those people do not represent anything I teach or stand for or talk about. So by definition, they wouldn't have anything to do with my movement. You know what I mean?
Right. I want to give.
I'm going in the opposite direction completely.
Right, and I've noticed that. Like, I love some of the things.
I'm gonna be the wet dream. Every fucking judge is gonna think of me when they're having sex with their wife. That's where I'm going.
There you go.
I'm going in the total opposite direction, brother. I'm gonna be what the judges talk about when they're enjoying a beer together at the pub, like all laughing with smiles on their faces. That's my future. That's my future.
Well, good. And I think that's the way it should be. If you're not, see, this is the thing, like if you're not hurting anyone, if you're not stealing people's crap, if you're not, if you're not doing damage to somebody's property, there's no reason that you should be a danger to anybody. And there's no reason for any kind of lawful action, and anything outside of that should be lawful and you should be free to do. And any kind of action that's taken against you is really because you're a threat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the trick is how can you be a threat without being a threat? And tell me about so we talked in the last episode a little bit about how you got into this movement. It took you a while. I wanted to kind of delve a little bit into some of the benefits that you've had. What are some of the and a lot of people, they're going to go straight to like money, which, listen, I'm all for money. I think money is great, but for me in my life and for I think a lot of people, I think there are higher causes, and I think that there are more important standards that we should be should look for. And so we can talk money. I'm happy to talk about money, but I want to talk about, like, in your life, what are the things in your life that have absolutely improved by becoming a state national, by following the doing the things that you've done. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's just a pretty wild, unmitigated freedom, really. I mean, it's just, you can't really, the financial end, obviously you have not paying any taxes, not paying sales tax, not paying federal income tax, not paying state tax, not paying inheritance tax or, estate tax or, property taxes, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. You're just not paying any of those. Because taxes only apply to people who are physically located in the District of Columbia. Okay, so since I'm not anymore on paper, and very few people are not located in the District of Columbia on paper in this country, probably less than, a 20th% of the country, probably something like that. Maybe even a 50th%, or even 100th%. I mean, really,
right?
That's obviously starting to change quite dramatically. You're starting to see this kind of information all over the place now. Um, but no tickets, no jury duty. It's almost impossible to litigate against you. I mean, because the thing is that if someone were to litigate against me, the first thing that they would have to prove that they've never had to prove in their entire life would be jurisdiction. So it's like how would you prove jurisdiction on me? I mean, that's going to be really, really, really impossible.
And so to put a kind of fine point on that, when you're talking about jurisdiction, that one of the issues is when when Congress, when state legislatures, or even your municipality writes laws and policies and such, they're writing these laws and policies for people that are living within the District of Columbia. And since you've removed yourself from that district, those laws and policies are not applicable. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like state of California, right? State of California is a private for-profit corporation located in the District of Columbia. So through the process of naturalization is how you become a part of that state. Naturalization is defined as simply conferring the nationality of that state upon yourself after birth by any means whatsoever. So, and that comes from 8 USC 1101, subsection A23. So that's the definition of naturalization. So when you sign up for voter registration and it says, are you a resident or do you domicile in the state of California, and they're referring to a private for-profit corporation located in the District of Columbia, when you say yes, by definition, you just naturalized, and that's how you become a citizen of the United States, which means the citizen of the District of Columbia.
Right. And then all those laws and rules and everything that they say you become subject to because you're a subject of that district.
Well, you basically become an unpaid employee or officer of the federal corporation. That's the definition of the term U.S. citizen.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So it's a very
an unpaid employee.
Well, the actual definition is paid or unpaid, but we all know it's unpaid. So
right. You're paying to get into the club.
Yeah.
So wow. Again, talk about your fascination, because I think this goes down some interesting paths. And it's important that I heard once that the definition of somebody who's educated is somebody who can make distinctions between one thing and another. And by definition, to distinguish something is to be able to define it distinctly. And so, one of the things that you do in your courses is you go through and really define what words mean, how they apply, and talk about your fascination with words. Like, how did that all happen? Because I'm blown away by how you go deep on some of these words and phrases that we think are so common and we use every day, and yet we really don't know what the definition or which definition is being applied in what circumstance.
Yeah, I mean it's a situation where I've been kind of obsessed with the clearing of words and looking up words in dictionaries for a long time, because I many years ago I kind of realized that it's the reason why you can't read is because you don't understand the definitions of the words. So reading when you don't understand the definitions of the words doesn't really work. You can't really read, right? So I started to clear up the definitions of the words and that kind of thing. And then before I knew it, I was kind of like hooked, because it's amazing. And then I had been clearing up words in a dictionary like crazy for many years. And then when I got into this, it was just, I was already kind of living that life for a long time. I'd already been living that life for like 15 years. So by the time I got to this, it was just the more advanced version of what I had already been doing, and a way more exciting version of what I had already been doing, because it was amazing to me that there were so many crazy, super weird, off the beaten path definitions for these things that I had never seen before. And it was just unbelievable. So many things that I thought I knew what it meant on a day-to-day basis, and I just didn't have a fucking clue. Even the word payment. Payment does not mean what people think it means. Check does not mean what people think it means. Account does not mean what people think it means. Tax does not mean what people think it means. Taxpayer does not mean what people think it means. Citizen does not mean what people think it means. US does not mean what people think it means. I can go on and on and on and on and on. I mean, it's just
Yeah. No, that's yeah. It's a, I'm fascinated by that because words are nothing but symbols, and once you can define the symbols but the problem is if you don't know what that symbol is defining, then you can get caught in traps all over the place, man. And you end up finding yourself in situations where where you think you have rights, but the truth is those rights have been you have whether you call it fraud or not, but you have voluntarily given up your rights.
Yeah.
And that's,
so it's a very interesting situation. It all comes down to words, the definitions of words, the usage of words. Like, for example, they say in financials and stuff like that, they only accept, money orders, checks, or whatever, But if you look up the definition of the word check in a banking dictionary and you clear up every single definition, which is, it could be, 90 of them. All a check is an order. It's an order to move, or a draft. Check and draft mean the same thing, right? So a check or a draft is just an order to move deposited funds from one location to another that are ready to go already. It's moving. It's not a credit transaction. It's a draft transaction. A credit transaction would be like a promise to pay. A draft transaction or a check transaction is not necessarily a promise to pay. It's actually an order to pay. It's an order to move money from a deposit account, right? So when you take your bills at the end of the month and you write orders on them and you mail them back, then technically you're mailing in a check by definition.
Okay.
And once you figure out what those orders are, and once you figure out how to operate the securities in the account, for example, every time you use your credit card, you are producing a promise to pay. That promise to pay has a value, no different than a Federal Reserve note. A Federal Reserve note, which is what's in your wallet, those are promises to pay too. Because if you look up the definition of the word note means promissory note. So if you, at the end of the month, when you get your statement of your credit card, that statement is nothing more than an investment portfolio account. And I have a whole plan on what I'm going to do with mine. But basically what it is, it's a series of securities that you have produced throughout the month. And they're asking you, what do you want us to do with all of these securities you've produced throughout the month? Right. And you write orders on the bill of exchange to convert the bill of exchange into a check, and you mail it back. And you can use the value of those securities to basically bring the account down to zero. But there's even more exciting news, because you're also entitled to the interest that those securities have manufactured throughout that month. So most people think that you pay interest to the credit card companies. That's not how it works at all. The interest, the APR interest, is actually paid to you, right? But I got a plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sue every single credit agency. I'm going to start opening up accounts of credit agencies I don't even have, and then I'm going to sue them as soon as they open the account. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell them that, look, here's the deal. I'm going to give you a limited power of attorney, and I'm going to allow you to write orders on my behalf at the end of the month to automatically convert these securities and discharge the account. In exchange for doing this for me, I'm going to let you guys have all of the interest on the account as a payment, as a service payment. And then also, as part of that deal, I want all my credit line limits removed on all of my cards. So you said, so basically what you're doing is you're unlocking infinite money at that point. So you swipe your card all you want for anything of any amount. And then at the end of the month, the balance automatically resets to zero without you having to do anything. So
and people think that sounds like voodoo, but I want to tell you, like, from my perspective, and from what I've learned, both I used to have a financial services company back in the day before I became a full-time musician and podcaster apparently, and um, but but also just from what I've learned about the Federal Reserve, I mean, this is exactly how the Federal Reserve operates anyway. Like you talk about a federal note, or I mean, you might be, people might be thinking, man, that's just funny money. It's you're just paying with air. There's nothing there, but that's the reality. Is that we're just paying with air. The money that's in your account is nothing but numbers. And you might say, well, I spent time making money for those numbers. Well, yeah, but if people knew how money is actually created, and people think like, oh, money is created at the Federal Reserve, it's printed, and even if they've gotten that far to where they understand it's not worth anything, but it's other than paper. But it's even worse than that, because as much money as the Federal Reserve creates, I think it's like 10 or 20 times more is created by banks. Every single time a loan is made, money is created, and that money earns interest. And every single time, so any kind of transaction, like let's put it this way: if all the debts in the world would be paid, there would be $0 in circulation. Zero, it'd be gone, and we'd be a lot freer. But that's a whole other statement. But my point is, like, the stuff that you're talking about with what you're going to do is more of just a micro level of what's done every single day in every single institution across this country.
Yeah, it's people say I need to make money, but the thing is that you're making money all the time. Whenever you use your credit card, you are legally
Right.
making currency. You are manufacturing and bringing a promissory note into existence where a promissory note did not exist prior to that point. That, by definition, is called banking. The manufacturing of currency is defined as banking. So you are a banker, and the public corporation, which is your name in all capital letters, is the bank, because your name's not on the statements. It's the bank. It's the bank's name that's on the statements, right? You're just the banker on behalf of the bank. So
Right.
when you understand how all that works, and you understand how you're actually issuing orders as the agent on behalf of the bank, when you write on the bills of exchange and you write the orders to have the securities that the bank has produced via your signature as a surety, when you understand how all that works, then you can write the orders. And once you can write the orders, then you're all set. And then once you write the orders, if they don't accept the orders, that's when the lawsuits come in. You can very easily win through litigation, as long as your orders are correct and you're no longer basically what is considered donating or gifting all of your securities through what we call non-performance. So when you receive your bill of exchange at the end of the month and they're asking you, what do you want us to do with all these securities? And you send them Federal Reserve notes, which have absolutely nothing to do with anything. All those securities that you manufacture throughout the month are just basically, you're basically just giving them away. Essentially, you're donating them to the financial institution through non-performance, because you failed to perform your duties as the banker on behalf of the bank. Those securities basically just become available for anyone who wants to put their name on them.
And how does that apply to real property, like mortgages, homes, cars, things like that?
It's the same thing. The mortgage is written, it's a promise to pay, and it's signed. So by definition, it's a promissory note as per the Uniform Commercial Code Article 3, which is all about negotiable instruments and securities and that kind of thing, right? So the application itself is it's actually worth the entire value of. So let's say on the mortgage it says like, $1 million, and then it says like 3% interest over 30 years equals, and then there's like a $1.2 million or whatever will be like the final amount after 30 years of paying the interest, right? That mortgage promissory note isn't worth the 1 million. It's actually worth the 1.2 million. It's worth the full value of the full promise of the full term of the loan.
Right. Because that makes sense, because that's the instrument that's being used.
So once you sign that instrument, what they do is as per the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, Part 2, They write a cover letter, and they write on the cover letter, application for notes. That's the title, right? And then they write orders, which by definition would be a check. They write orders on the cover letter, and they say like, attached is the, they call it a collateral security. Please see the collateral security attached. And then there's actually the exact wording on how you write up an exchange comes from 31 CFR 328.5. If you look that up, it'll say forms of endorsement when presented by banks for payment or exchange, right? So what you're doing is you have a promissory note in your hand, the mortgage, and you're requesting to the Federal Reserve to exchange the mortgage promissory note for Federal Reserve notes of equal value, right? So they tell you exactly what you're supposed to write on. You're supposed to write for presentation to the Federal Reserve Bank of blank. So like for me, the nearest of the 12 districts would be San Francisco. So I would write San Francisco in that box, comma, fiscal agent of the United States, comma, for redemption or in exchange for securities of a new issue, comma, in accordance with written instructions submitted by, and then it says insert name of presenting bank. So you can actually create a stamp that has all this information on it. That's what the banks do. So let's say, for example, Bank of America. Bank of America, if you go to 31 CFR 328.6, which is the next subsection right after that one, it tells you exactly what the stamp is supposed to say and the exact size of the stamp. It says, on bearer of securities, the endorsement must be imprinted on the left-hand portion of the face of each security, with the first line thereof parallel to the left edge of the security. So basically what they're saying is that the stamp is supposed to be long ways on the upper left portion of the 90 degrees like this sideways, right? And I think the reason why that is because, to make sure it doesn't get mixed up with all the other text on the paper, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I have stamps and they're all in red ink because I want to make sure the red ink like is very noticeable through the black ink of the security itself, right? So it says, in such a matter to be clearly legible and in such position that it will not obscure the serial number, series designation, or other identifying data, and cover the smallest possible portion of the text on the face of the security. The dimensions of the endorsement should be approximately 4 inches in width and 1.5 inches in height. So you can actually go online to like stampmaker.com and you can put a text box in there and you can literally stretch it out so that it's 4 inches in width and 1.5 inches in height. Exactly. And that's how you buy the stamp. And must be imprinted by stamp or plate of such character as will render the endorsement substantially ineradicable. I think that means you can't take it away. Let me see. Ineradicable.
Right. You can't eradicate it.
Ineradicable. Unable to be destroyed or removed. Okay, good. So in a way that, the name of the Federal Reserve Bank of the district must appear on the plate or stamp used for the imprinting of the endorsement and presentation to the appropriate branch of the Federal Reserve Bank named will be considered as presentation to the bank. When securities are to be presented to the Bureau of the Fiscal Service, meaning like the U.S. Treasury, the words United States Treasury should be used in lieu of the words Federal Reserve Bank of blank. So it tells you if you're trying to send it to the Treasury, you would put United States Treasury in there instead of Federal Reserve Bank of.
Right.
So that's all. I have stamps for all of that. I haven't tested that yet. I did send one package into the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco one time. They did sign for it, and I never heard a goddamn peep. So I didn't follow up on it. But this time, I'm going to be sending out a whole bunch of shit. I'm going to send some to the U.S. Treasury. I'm going to send some to the Los Angeles sub-district branch. I'm going to send some more to San Francisco. And then if I still don't get an answer and I still get ignored, then I'm going to litigate. Now, litigation in these kind of situations, you're not litigating against the Federal Reserve to make money. You're litigating just to get into communication because they're ignoring you.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the only reason why you're litigating. You're never
Right.
going to see any money from it. It's just like, yo, if this isn't correct, what the fuck do I need to do to make it right?
Right. It's like a FOIA request.
It's like you guys aren't talking to me. I'm litigating so that you guys will fucking talk to me. That's it. Like, why aren't you talking to me? Like, I'm not fucked. I'm not stupid. Like, I'm reading the shit. Like, I'm actually trying to figure it out. It's like, oh, well, it has to go through a bank. Okay, well, like, I've asked my bank. I've asked 2 other banks. They have no idea. Like, who do I go? Like, give me the name of a guy I can fucking go to. Like, you know what I mean? That's what you can do through litigation. You can get what you want through litigation.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, at the end, that is your formal way of communicating. If you know that's everything else is informal until you get to litigation. You know,
It's sort of like boys. I'm learning now. I mean, this is a transformational phase for me. It's almost like boys just send shit in or complain. Men litigate. It's sort of like that's kind of where things are looking right now, as far as I can tell. You're not really taken very seriously until you litigate, which isn't very difficult. I'm learning. So it's just all. I'm going to be teaching how to litigate in the advanced course. I'll make a series of videos once I figure it all out for myself and get some successes under my belt and that kind of thing.
Right. Which kind of brings me to another point I want to talk to you about is you just formed your own law group, Williams and Williams Law Group. Talk to me about why you decided to do that and what that's all about. And I'm guessing that part of that is this litigation process that you're going through.
Part of it is litigation. Part of it is creating letterhead. Part of it is the illusion. Part of it is, I'm left my day job. So like trying to pull in a little bit of money in between when Infinite Money cracks or one of these lawsuit cracks. Part of it too is just, even when I crack Infinite Money, I probably won't. I don't know if I'm going to be working or not. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I would like to have a group of people that can help others.
Mm-hmm.
So I plan on having a whole fuck ton of people, including litigation experts and everything else. And it's going to be like a whole operation that can help other people that I'll sort of like run, so it's kind of like all the above. It's kind of all the above,
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, it's exciting new venture, exciting new thing to be working on. And like I said, I think a lot of people, would maybe feel more comfortable with somebody, holding their hand through the process if they need it. I think
that's exactly right.
I think there's a service there,
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I've taken on a couple clients. I've had a lot of celebrities call me the past week. Holy fuck, man. Huge names. I don't even know what I can talk about. I really don't even know. Like, I literally don't even know what I can talk about. It's so big and it's so crazy. I mean, I left my day job this week. I had a whole fuck ton of crazy celebrities invite me to this like insane party and they wanted me to like speak. I'm like, God damn. I spoke for like 40 minutes. They were blown away. I got celebrities calling me on my fucking cell phone. It's like totally crazy. Like, how are you even getting this phone number? I got, I left my day job, started the fucking law office. I got Tinfoil Hat just launched yesterday.
Oh yeah. Now tell me, that's your podcast?
No, that's Sam Tripoli's podcast, but it's
fucking
huge. You've heard about it, right?
You know what? I haven't, but I'm gonna go check it out right after we get off.
Tinfoil Hat. It's a big fucking show, man. Huge.
Okay, that's awesome.
It's like the underground version of like Joe Rogan, basically.
Yeah. Okay, I follow.
So Sam Tripoli is a huge comedian, and obviously it's totally my people because it's like they call it Tinfoil Hat. It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like the one stupid fuck of podcasts. You know what I mean? It's like I love the branding he has, and he's hilarious. So, I was on there yesterday. I really fucking killed it, knocked it out of the park. Sam was blown away. It's a lot's happening, man. This week,
that's exciting, man.
Yeah,
exciting for you and exciting for the movement. It's I think. Man, I just think a lot of people need to like have some confidence in what they're doing and know that they can do it, and that they're, the sky isn't going to fall by trying,
Well, it's like anything else, like in the 90s, people were like, computers, whatever, take it, cell phones in the 2000s, all right, whatever. It just takes a little bit of time for these kind of, like huge, massive, life altering things to kind of like take hold, and for people to realize that, even the internet, a lot of people didn't think the internet was ever going to fucking, gain any traction. A lot of big investment firms were like, that seems kind of like bullshit, So it's like even things that we take for granted now, like the internet or computers or personal computers. I mean, you look at these old ads from like 1987 and you see that's like 3 megahertz, oh my God, like,
Right.
and it's this big ass fucking thing, and it's like $8,000, which in 1987 was a shitload of fucking money. You could get like, that's an absolute buttload of fucking money. Like, I don't know why anybody would have bought one of those fucking things. You know what I mean? So,
they were useful. That's the thing. It's funny. It's exactly like when we look at like movies. Like, you look at movies and you're like, man, how did I think those graphics were like so realistic? And it's like the
like PlayStation 1. I remember playing PlayStation 1 when I was a kid and playing like Final Fantasy 7, and like literally their arms are like decahedrons and the front's just flat, and they're like this with their arms, and I'm like, bro, it does not get any better than this.
No, seriously.
Right?
I remember my dad purchased one of those. We would call it a portable computer. It was one of those compacts. But
I saw that, and it came with the pouch, and you put it in the pouch and you zip the top up like this.
It was big. No, it looked like a sewing machine, like a sewing machine. And you would put the thing down, and then the bottom, you'd flip it, and that was the keyboard. And then you had two. I mean, I'm old, so you'd had two floppy disks.
Right? Hey, I had floppy disks as a kid. I had the floppy disks,
and I would play, what the crap, Star Commander, whatever game, and
Commander Keen,
huh?
Commander Keen.
Oh no, Wing Commander. That's what it was called.
Wing Commander. Okay.
I'd play Wing Commander, and I'd be like, dude, these graphics, I feel like I'm in space, and the screen was like 3 inches, And it's green.
I know. And now we've got things like, I don't know if you know anything about modern gaming, but the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my entire life is there's this game that I really enjoy called The Forest. And it's this game where you're stranded on an island, and there's these zombie creatures, and there's also like these like tribal people who live on the island and stuff like that. And it's like the zombies and the tribes. And you go down in these caves, and you have a little lighter, but the lighter like goes out randomly, and then it's like, and then it'll turn back on randomly, and then it'll like turn off randomly. And it's like, you can't see a fucking thing when it turns off.
Right.
And there's like noises and zombies and shit like running around, and they'll just run at you like full speed. I'm telling you, it's the most fucking terrifying thing I've ever seen. And then what did they do? They released a virtual reality version of the game.
Oh, dude.
And I'm thinking in my head, like, dude, I'm not kidding. Me and my friend, he used to sit here with me. We would play The Forest, not the VR one, just the normal one.
Right.
And I mean, you can't even fucking breathe. It's so fucking terrifying. Like, you can't even fucking breathe, right? It's so intense, right? I wouldn't even play a virtual. I mean, there's jokes. You go online, you look up The Forest VR, and they're like, oh yeah, sure. If I wanted to fucking die, that'd be it's the best suicide device ever fucking developed, right? Who knows why they even developed it? I feel like they almost developed it just as like a masochism, because they knew like, who's gonna buy this shit?
But
this is way too much. It's like,
I'll tell you, like, and I believe this is why I don't fear things like AI or deep fakes. I have no fear of that, because I believe there's something in our brain that eventually we figure it out. Like, we can see the difference. And I promise you, in like 5 years, you'll look at that and you'll be like, what was so scary about it? You'll be like, that looks so fake to me now, because it's gotten even more crazy and more real. Like, I just, I don't know your take on AI and stuff like that, but that, to me, like, I think it's a great tool. I just don't see that. I don't fear it like so many people. I think it's going to create more jobs than take away. Like, don't fear the and plus I've worked with AI for like 30 minutes and I realize it's pretty stupid.
Yeah, and the thing is that AI. What I don't like about AI is that it's developed by humans and then humans worship it. That's the most
Right.
weird, pathetic, fucked up, convoluted, backwards ass shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
You are freaking right on that, man. That is exactly right. It's
like creating a pagan god that you fucking literally made. Like you literally programmed it. Like,
it's self worship.
What is wrong with you, bro?
It's masturbatory worship right there, man.
What is wrong with you? You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
Wow, no, that's a great point. That's really true. It's creating,
I don't use AI. I don't get involved with it. Blah blah. People send me shit because they're like, oh my god, you can find a lot of the stuff that you're talking about in the financials about in AI and all this kind of a thing. And it's like, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's in the fucking statute. So what do I need AI for? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And it like for me, it's like I don't use
law
it.
is one of those areas that's so convoluted, and you need to like very meticulously clear up the definition of every single word. You're never going to be able to AI law. Right. It's actually tremendously human, which is sad because it's also kind of not at the same time. But like you go down to the courthouse, it's like they have these old fucking like 1989 computers and shit still. It's all stamps. It's all paper clips. It's like as if you've gone back in time 30 years.
Fax machines
fax machines. So the thing is that law is still very like ink, ink colors, stamp colors, paper clips, the whole paper, like even when you send mail, when you get things served, it gets served through certified or registered mail, and then you get the PS 3811, the green form back that has the signature that the agent signed for, or the principal signed for, or received it, and then you take that piece of paper to the courthouse, and that's going to be your evidence, or a copy of it, or a physical copy of it, and you turn in all your evidence to the county clerk or the clerk of courts, and she stamps each page saying that it has been delivered and accepted. And it's still a very human experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is, I mean, law, like economics, is human action. I mean, that's what it is. It's like economics. I would make the case that economics is human action, and law is, like I said before, formal human communication.
Yeah.
Like, how do I prove that I had this conversation with Brandon? Well, I could send him a letter that you acknowledge that we had this conversation, and now it becomes a matter of law. How do I prove that I'm married to my wife? Well, I had witnesses who signed that. Yes, we saw that this person, was married, and
that's all a notary is. A notary is just someone who operates on behalf of the Secretary of State that verifies your identity and then physically witnesses you signing the document. Because it's like this. I could say I'm fucking Mike Levitt and sign some shit, right? Mm-hmm. But if you have it notarized, that's going to be tough, because the notary is going to say, how do you prove that you are who you say you are? I want proof. You present proof. And then she says, okay, now that you've proven, I say she, because they're almost always women.
They are, right?
You say, now that you've proven to me, pretty much beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are who you say you are, I'm going to physically watch this now identified, evidence-driven identification body.
Right.
Is going to be the one to physically sign this. And then now I've identified you. I've physically watched the identified person sign. And then you have the notary book with the thumbprint. So then you have the thumbprint on top of that to further identify that you did it. And then that's when you get your stamp. And that stamp, the notary stamp, is basically saying the me as an agent on behalf of the Secretary of State. So it's actually, a notary is literally like a secondary pair of eyes that has been officially licensed by the Secretary of State to identify and witness signatures on behalf of the Secretary of State. So in law, it's as if the Secretary of State themselves watched you sign the document.
Right. It's a proxy. Right.
Proxy. So that's why notarization is so powerful with affidavits, because you can write absolutely anything on an affidavit, and then you're signing it under penalty of perjury, and then you're notarizing it, which verifies that the person who wrote this is the person who, it's basically the notary is the evidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that kind of brings me, I had two big questions from our last podcast that I got most. One is about your flag behind, so we'll talk about that in a minute, which I that's great stuff. But the other thing was about identification, specifically the passport, the power of a higher level passport, and why people should start doing that. They were like, it was almost like it was a foreign language. Like they're like, what? Like you can use your passport to drive? Like, so let's go through that just a little bit more.
Yeah,
once
sure.
again, like about the importance of a passport and what kind of power that gives an individual.
So, sure. That's easy. It's actually so easy, in fact, that it's unbelievable. That's a lot of what we're teaching these days is getting to be so simple that people aren't believing me anymore. So, I like to preface myself with that beforehand, because there's not a whole lot I can do about that. Before it was too complex, and now it's too simple. I'd rather have too simple than too complex. You know what I mean?
Amen, brother.
Because too complex just means people go away and they say, "Fuck this." Too simple. What normally happens is people go away like, "Whoa, that just can't be. It's too simple." But then they're thinking about it.
Why isn't everybody doing it?
Then they're thinking about it, and it's like a seed has been planted. When it's too simple, you get the seed. The seed effect, I guess you can call it, right? When it's too complex, you don't get the seed effect. You get the fuck this, fuck you effect, right? So the too simple effect is, this can't be true. There's no fucking way. They go off and they live their life. And then 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 4 years later, all of a sudden they've been seeing some shit in a new light for a while. And then all of a sudden one day that seed turns into a plant, and I'm fine with that. I'm not looking to get everybody, this isn't going to change overnight. I know that. And I'm not trying to do that. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, this is a civil peace flag. So the normal flag that you see everywhere is actually a wartime flag. And when you see the gold fringe around the wartime flag, like what you see on police officer uniforms and what you see in the courtroom, that means martial law wartime flag. So it's like an additional meaning on top of the normal meaning. That's why you have the normal wartime flag, and then you have a different wartime flag with the gold fringe. It's a meaning on top of a meaning. So you have the wartime flag.
This jurisdiction
additional
is under
meaning.
martial law.
Yeah. So you have the wartime flag, and then you have the wartime flag with the additional martial law on top.
Right. Okay.
So this is a peacetime flag. So technically speaking, and no one knows this, so it's not really much of an issue, but technically speaking, if you fly a wartime flag in front of your home, you're basically saying that, anyone involved in this war, like soldiers and stuff like that, they have permission to garrison inside of your home during times of war. Okay. You're basically saying, I support this war that's going on. That's the normal flag that you see everywhere. Okay. The civil peacetime flag is the polar opposite of that. The civil peacetime flag is that I'm not involved in your war. I'm not going to be involved in your war, and I'm not at war, and I'm not going to fight for you, and you're not going to garrison inside my home, and I don't want to hear about it. That's what this one is. Okay. I'm not at war. I really am not. I mean, you know that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just fucking around. I'm really, truly not interested. I'm really not interested. You know what I mean? Like, truly. You know what I mean? And then to answer your question about the passports. So if you look on my passport card here, I got it right here in my hand, and you look on the back, it says here, valid for domestic air travel, international land and sea travel between the U.S., Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and the Bermuda, not valid for international air travel. This is just the card. The book is for international air travel, okay?
Right.
So you got to think to yourself, if you can use this card to travel, air travel domestically, and international land and sea travel between the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and Caribbean, and Bermuda, why wouldn't this apply to drive down to Whole Foods and get yourself groceries? Right? And nobody's ever asked themselves such a fucking simple question, right?
Yeah.
So you also got to think too, you've got 18 USC 1545, which it's called safe conduct violation. And it says whoever violates any safe conduct or passport duly obtained and issued under authority of the United States shall be fined under this title, imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. So what that means is if you present a passport to a police officer when you're getting pulled over and he decides to do absolutely anything besides let you go, basically immediately, it would be a violation of 18 USC 1545. And that particular officer and anyone else who may be involved in that detainment could possibly be charged with 18 USC 1545, and they could be in prison for up to 10 years for that activity. Now, the way that it really works when you break it all down in great detail is a driver's license is used when you're operating a motor vehicle commercially. A passport is when you are traveling in an automobile privately. The police do not have jurisdiction over someone who does not present a driver's license. Now, technically speaking, the sheriff's office would have jurisdiction over someone. So if you were pulled over by a sheriff, he would technically he could take that passport, and if he felt that you were like well, you'd have to actually say like, look, you pulled out. It caused this person to fucking freak out and smash into this other person.
Right.
But you caused it, okay? Now, even if you presented a passport in a situation like that to a sheriff, the sheriff would still have jurisdiction to do something about the situation.
Right.
Because your actions are directly connected, or he alleges and now needs to prove in a court of law.
Which is exactly what it says in that, if you've done this, if you've caused non-safety to happen, or you've caused damage, or you've caused, you've been stupid, you caused theft, then if those things happen, then of course you're under I mean, to me, I always think about things in terms of natural law, right? Like,
yeah,
like, have you done now? Sometimes it doesn't play out in the civil world, but what I love about that is that passport is like your sign. It's your sign to everybody that I am living under natural law, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the passport, basically, you don't need endorsements. You don't need this. You don't need that. Like on a driver's license to drive a motorcycle, you need a motorcycle endorsement. You don't need a motorcycle endorsement with the passport. You don't need anything. And actually, you can actually even get insurance to drive cars with Progressive, I believe it is. Progressive passport traveler insurance. I believe you can get insurance under your passport, which is like true, like obvious proof that you can drive with a passport. Last I checked, it was Progressive that offered that. I would need to do some digging.
I think that's I watched that video, and I believe that's what you said. It was Progressive that had it.
Yeah, if you got a DUI and they took away your driver's license, it doesn't fucking matter. All you got to do is just go and get a passport. I mean, let's be honest, you shouldn't be driving around drunk like an idiot. But I mean, look, where I'm from in Indiana, driving drunk is a fucking that's just what you do. You know what I mean? Like so for me, it's kind of I grew up where we call them road sodas. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not driving around with like a fucking pint of liquor. You're driving around with like a domestic beer. It's like 4.2% between your legs. You know what I mean? Or a koozie. That's really common where I'm from. So it's not like you're getting like fucking obliterated, but people are, driving drunk is practically a hobby where I'm from. So, it's one of those things too, where, it's like, I mean, technically speaking, until you actually hurt someone, you haven't committed a crime.
That's the other thing. I have come in my elderly age or whatever. In my age, I've learned like pre-crime is a bad thing. Like I watched Minority Report,
yeah,
and probably 90%. well, 99% of all traffic laws, but 90% of laws in general are like pre-crime laws. Like, I haven't done anything, and yet you're going to cite me. There's this mythical idea that I've caused harm to the state, and there's no such thing. Supposedly, under We the People, I am the state. So how do I cause harm to myself? Like, the whole thing is a circular argument that makes no sense. But the fact that we just give in and just, you know, take it is they say, okay, well, we'll continue to give it then.
Yeah, it all comes down to voluntary contractual, you know, that's really what
Right.
it comes down to, you know, because if you start bringing this stuff up, they just drop everything. you know.
Yeah.
But where we're heading with this is, you know, just getting everything dropped ain't gonna do it anymore. We're so now what we're doing is we're gonna go on the absolutely wild-eyed flame in our retinas offense on everything. They so much as even look at us cross-eyed, and there's going to be lawsuits flying in every goddamn direction. And it's not a vengeful activity. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to pitch this and exactly how I'm going to train this. And the way we're going to do it is it's actually parental energy. It's daddy, mommy energy.
Okay.
That's the way we're going to be doing it. So it's not like, fuck you, you piece of shit, we're going to burn you to the ground. It's like daddy's putting discipline in with son because son did some stupid shit, broke a window or something.
Right.
That's kind of
Right.
like the energy.
It's a teaching a lesson. Like, listen, this is bad behavior on your part. You're supposed to be my public servant.
Yeah. So it's sort of like that's the direction we're going to go. It's going to be very, very quick to the gun, hair trigger, but it's going to be in the right headspace.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where what I'm doing is headed. Right. And you know, a lot of all the claims, pressing all the claims and all the things that we're going to do is we're going to push for re-education of police through our claims. We're going to push through re-education of county clerks through our claims. It's all going to be included in the claim. It's not just going to be money. It's going to be the actual changing and re-education and regaining the control over the various elements and things that we need to do and getting everything kind of fixed. Basically, I don't really think things are all that fucked up. I mean, all we got to do is just change a few things. And you know, I mean, look, I always tell people on these shows, if we repeal the 14th Amendment tomorrow, I mean, America would be basically rebooted.
Yep.
In instantaneously.
Yep.
I mean, you could fix this whole country in 1 millisecond.
Yep. No, I just had a big argument with somebody about the 14th Amendment and how you know it created slaves of all of us. You know, it's really I'm with you there 100%. Talk to me as we're kind of finishing up here. What talk about some of the I have one more question, but before that, talk about some of the exciting things that are coming down the pipe for you, for the things that you're doing. You talk about some litigation, but what are do you have any projects, any you know, any things that people can watch you on, or yeah, what are your big things that are happening?
Tinfoil Hat just dropped yesterday, which is huge, and then which is a show. It's a really big show, and then the litigation. I mean, all of our attention, all of our focus, all of our everything, all of my attention, all of my focus is pretty much completely and entirely on litigation, how to start litigation, how to process litigation, how to move it forward. I doubt anything that I'll ever be doing will ever go to trial because I plan on just blitzkrieging the fuck out of everybody to the point where they just want it to end. They want the nightmare to end as fast as possible. But and again, it's the daddy energy. It's not going to be Hitler energy. I think that's the secret. You know what I mean? But
versus what like Chris Hauser did. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's kind of like Hitler energy, right?
Yeah.
That's not really where I want to go. You know, I want to be a friend of the court. I don't want to be an enemy of the court. That doesn't really, you know, if the court's the only place I can get remedy, which at this point, it pretty much seems like that's where I'm at. Why would I want to burn that possibility to the ground? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. And is there someplace where people can follow your litigation or follow what you're doing with these?
So there's an app, I believe it's called I'm just learning about all this. I'm like brand new um, to all of this, right? So there's a program or app or something called Pacer Monitor, and you can go to pacermonitor.com, and it says here search, and you can search court cases and kind of all that shit, right?
Okay.
Parties. I don't really know how this works, and I think there's even a phone app that you can download. I just typed in Brandon Williams, which my name's super common. There's 8 million court cases with my name in it, but that's literally 199,000 cases. Or wait, yeah, 199,000 cases. But these are not all cases that are currently going. Like I'm just scrolling down on Pacer Monitor and looking at filed September 6th, 2012, filed June 22nd, 2016.
Right. So it's
I
like
don't know.
it's an aggregate of all the,
Yeah, I don't know if these are like, oh, it says terminated. Okay, so I guess these are court cases that. So you can go through here and you can actually click on the court case, and then you'll see every single motion, every single document, every single request, every single piece of evidence, every single everything is available. Oh, okay, I see. So if you click on the PDF file and you want to look at the files, it takes you to a sign up page.
Okay.
And you have Plus for small businesses, it's $49 a month. Professional is $99 a month. You get different types of ways of searching. They charge you per page, I guess. Wow, I didn't realize that.
Okay.
Anyways, so Pacer Monitor is one way that I'm going to, or maybe I'll find a better way. But this is my main litigation mentor. He recommended this platform, Pacer Monitor. So Pacer Monitor is, all the lawsuits that I'll be doing are going to be public. They're public, whether I like it, whether I want them to be or not. It doesn't matter. They're going to be public. So the thing is that you can actually just watch all of the documents and download all of the documents live as the lawsuits progress. So I'll probably just issue the case number,
and then we can watch
to my email list and to my my social media. Yeah, and then or I might take the actual documents themselves. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't even know what the legalities are of that. I don't know if I even can put the documents online, or if I'm supposed to like make them go there so they can see like the stamped ones until the court case is done. Like, I just don't know how this works at all. So I just have to figure it all out. And then, we're going to just learn it like we've learned everything else. Just take baby steps and move forward. And,
stay confused, figure out the next step.
Yeah. Make it happen. I got
So I wanted to finish up with, especially since you're, it sounds like, things are thriving. You've got some celebrity clients, hopefully, that are coming on board, and some people that are really interested. What are some things, and I'm thinking specifically of somebody like a Donald Trump, for example, who, he's been in these big, circles for a long time. I'm sure he knows a lot of this information. I'm sure his family knows. It's how his money is probably protected and all and such things. But he still gets himself, arrested and things like that. How would you recommend somebody who's high profile, or somebody going about this to keep themselves from getting arrested, from keeping themselves from being trumped, shall I say?
Yeah. I don't know what they know. I'm not so sure they know much of any of this, to be honest with you. I don't think hardly anybody in any public arena at all, in front of any spotlight or camera, knows almost anything about any of this.
Okay. Fair enough.
Or if they do, it's very, very it's
or even I think
just
about
now coming out, like the United States is a corporation. Holy fuck. Like, it's just now starting to become more mainstream.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's pretty much like, I would go so far as to say like some of those guys probably know that at least, but
Right.
I'm not even sure if they know that that corporation is located in the District of Columbia. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not even so sure that they even, their knowledge even goes to, the second video of my course, literally.
Right.
So
No. Yeah. So
I actually think it's very, 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 I mean, like I said, I think it was you, or I was talking to a friend of mine earlier. When I called my bank and I spoke to a private banker because I was trying
yeah.
to get some exchanges done, like what I was talking about earlier today, some securities exchanges with the Federal Reserve. And I talked to a guy who had been banking for 16 years and he didn't know any of this. And he told me, he's like, bro, you're fucking blowing my fucking mind right now. Like, I need to like go fucking have a cigarette or something. And then I asked him to get me a guy above him, and he ended up getting me a guy above him. And he's like, dude, I'll have it to you in 24 hours. And he ended up giving me this guy with like 29 years of experience who was like a banking god. And he didn't even know about a lot of this.
Wow. Well,
So
and I guess that becomes another hurdle, is like you have to inform and teach the people that are going to administrating the things that you need to get administrated, to get stuff done. You know
yeah,
what I
you
mean?
have
Like
to,
that's got to be a process.
again, it comes down to, like I said, I think the best way to explain it is sort of like mommy daddy energy. That's what it
Right.
is.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Brandon, man, I love having, I hope you come on again, man. I love your energy. I love talking this stuff to you and learning more.
Thank you.
Maybe we could talk some music next time too. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Right on,
It's a
brother.
jam session, dude.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. Well,
Awesome, man.
listen, thanks again, man. Good luck to everything you're doing. And I'll be watching, I'll be seeing what's happening. Loving your videos, enjoying the stuff
Which
that
one
you're
are you
putting out.
on? Which one are you on?
I think I just finished 30. It was the one on marriage today.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah. So
What do you
that
think about
was,
that one?
you know what? It's funny. I'm a weirdo. I always think about, so I've thought this for years and years and years about like getting permission to do stuff. I have a big, you're not the boss of me issue. I have serious authority issues. People who know me know that's true.
Hey, that's
And
great
so,
for this.
I know. So I know this is like right up my alley. And so like, for example, I'll go into the DMV and every single time, like I get so pissed. I'm so like I'm so angry because I'm like, did we have to like register our horses like back in the day? Like, I don't understand. Did I have to get permission to ride a horse back in the day? Like none of it made sense to me. And then like the marriage license thing, like it's like, why do I have to go to some? In fact, it's funny, when we got married, we almost missed, because it happened to be on a holiday, and that's a whole other story. So we had to go like to a different county to get our license, and and I hated every second of it. Hated it. And so like, as you're preaching to the choir when it comes to me on that stuff. Like, to me, a marriage is between, you, your wife, God, and the family. That's it. Like there's no reason you should be in bed with the state. And yeah. So I loved it. I'm all on board.
Beautiful. Yeah. You could probably just write a rescindment on the marriage license. Just
Licensure.
just make a copy of your marriage license and put a cover letter on it and just say, hey, this is null and void. We're both, myself and my wife are rescinding both of our signatures on this. This is this is fraud. We didn't realize what we were signing. And we have no desire to contract with the state. And you can put on there, you can even put on there like this marriage license is vitiated from its inception. And then
just
notarize that document, the affidavit, and then just attach the affidavit to the copy of the marriage license or even the original. And then just make a copy for yourself, or scan everything into your computer and make sure you have a copy before you send it out. And then you can send it out registered mail to the state, the state. I forget the area that issues the marriage licenses, but you send it there.
Right.
You can send a copy to the state,
the county courthouse,
attorney general.
Oh yeah.
You can send a copy to the county recorder. You can send a copy to the United States Attorney General. I mean, you don't have to do this, but I'm just thinking in my head, how would I do it? I would send it all over the place. I would send a copy to all those different places, and and then I wouldn't even wait for a response or anything. I would just, as
Right.
soon as they sign for the parcel and you get the email, or you go online, you type in the registered mail thing, and you see
Right, because you're not asking permission to have it rescinded.
Exactly.
You're informing them that
That's
it's
exactly right.
rescinded.
That's exactly right. So once they sign for the parcel, you can assume that's it. You're done. Now, if they don't sign for the parcel gets lost, something like that, you should resend it to that particular person.
That makes sense.
But if you send it registered mail, that thing ain't getting lost. I mean, that registered mail, they put that shit in like safes, and they have a whole separate way that they transport registered mail.
I didn't know that. That's good. That's
you
good
can, if you're gonna, let's say for example, you were gonna transport like $100,000 in cash, you would use registered mail to do something like that. I mean, or you'd use like a full blown fucking, like transportation.
Right. You'd hire a company to do it.
A company. But I'm saying, like, if you work, let's say, like a lot of times, like they even say, I think on the USPS website, like if you're sending securities or things of high value, or let's say like
bearer bonds or something like that,
a painting that your daughter, or something, and you don't want to hire some big, huge goon squad. You would use registered mail to send something like, like a family heirloom or something like that. And it's like, that's like that, there ain't no fucking way registered mail's getting fucking lost.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to get there, but it ain't getting lost. You know what I mean?
Right. That's good to know, man. No, I appreciate that little tidbit. So yeah, we'll be starting that process here. I've already ordered I do have a question, actually. And this is a little, so, is there a difference between the long form birth certificate and the life certificate of birth?
No, it's the same thing. The certificate of live birth and the long form birth certificate. There's even other names for it. The book issue or the book copy. Like certain states have certain terms for it.
Because Nevada, I received my certificate of live birth, and I think I thought that was the same thing, but I wanted to double check. I think, and by the way, for people who don't know, if you're interested in this stuff, the first thing you should do is go order copies of your certificate of live birth or your long form birth certificate, and then figure the rest out later. Because so
it takes forever. But there's a lot of people who can't get theirs. Like in Pennsylvania, you can't even get them.
Yeah,
I think
where you have to
I think there's a few states you literally can't even get them. So
is that where you have to figure out where you have to like create your own birth certificate?
Sort of. It's a DS-10. So the DS-11 is the passport application form. DS-10 is a birth affidavit form. So I tell people, if you can't get it, or it's a pain in the ass, or you're fucking tired of trying and it's just a pain in the ass, just use a DS-10 birth affidavit form, and then you attach that to the DS-11 passport application form.
Gotcha. Man, they just make it so easy for you, man.
Yeah. Well, in all these years, these health departments, they've never had this many calls and emails, and they're just getting fucking slammed. I mean, there's a lot happening with this right now. I mean,
I'm sure. Well,
their quiet, comfy little government jobs just became fucking tumultuous fucking lobster fucking boats, and oh shit, you know what I mean? Like
the birth certificate department was going to be a high stress job.
I know, yeah. Whoever thought they thought they were getting into the lowest stress job in the world? Well, yeah, up until past year or so.
Right, then Brandon Williams shows up, and
then I show up and fuck up their cushy little smoke break for 20 years.
Right. Well, Brandon, man, thanks a lot. I hope come on again, brother. I'd love to chat some more as things progress.
I'd love to, broski. Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, man. You guys have been listening to And If Love Remains.
Mike is gone.
You are listening to And If Love Remains.
Gone but not forgotten.
First of 23 installments requested by Dr. Levitt. Trying to be in compliance here because we're taking him and that whole organization down.